Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good morning to you wherever you may be. Welcome to the BigSpeak Webinar. This is Greatness Through Grit with Robyn Benincasa. My name is Marianne Kuga. I'm the marketing manager at BigSpeak, and we've made it to week 7. And I'm on day 38 officially of quarantine, and actually day 40 something of home cooked meals, because I can't actually even remember the last time I was in a restaurant before all this started, and so far I have not gotten any takeout. But we will see how much longer that lasts because I'm very tired of doing dishes. As we wait for a few more people to get signed in, I do want to acknowledge that today is Earth Day, which, fun fact, originated right here in Santa Barbara. Our annual in-person Earth Day festival, which normally takes place just a few blocks away from me, has been converted into a virtual live streaming event starting today at noon Pacific. There will be live performances including Kenny Loggins and speakers including former Vice President Al Gore and actor Jeff Bridges. And that live stream can be found at sbearthday.org. On a personal note for BigSpeak, we actually launched a carbon offset program at the beginning of the year, and we're the first US Speakers Bureau to go carbon neutral. We teamed up with a company called 3 Degrees, and while we had no idea what was coming when we made our calculations, we committed to offsetting 2,187 metric tons of carbon emissions. This is a major milestone for us, and in the current environment, we're obviously reducing our carbon footprint even further. But it's our hope that by taking the lead in environmental protection within the speaking industry, other bureaus and our partners across the country will follow, and together we will all move in the right direction. So happy Earth Day, everyone. Okay, it looks like most everyone is in. Welcome. It is my great pleasure today to introduce our guest, the incomparable Robyn Benincasa. Robyn is an adventure racing world champion, CNN hero, best-selling author, currently a full-time firefighter, so, you know, a total slacker. Robyn, can you turn on your video, pop in here? Let's see. Oh, there she is. Hey, how are you?
Yay! Hi everybody out there. Thanks for coming to our big party.
Yeah,
and that was an awesome introduction, my friend. You rock.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So before we get into our questions and our content today, just a quick little logistics check for everyone. Yes, we are recording this, and yes, we will be sending the recording to all of you tomorrow. You can use the Q&A and chat buttons on the toolbar to communicate with us, and we will be taking questions throughout the session, so ask away. So if you've been with us before, you know that I love a good poll. So I'm gonna pop one up here really quick. And let's see, launch poll. And so I just kind of want to know how everyone is feeling today. I've had a lot of ups and downs, and even sometimes within the hour of hosting these webinars, and actually I'm probably any of these choices at any given moment of the day, but currently I'm good, can't complain, and really just happy to be here with everyone. Okay, I'll give it a couple more seconds and now we'll end it and share the results. Okay, so most people feeling pretty good, can't complain, you know, doing all right. You know, for the few of you who are having a tough day, I'm sorry, I've been there. You know, hang in there. I will say it's gonna get better, and you know, lean on the people you need to support you. Okay, so let's turn that guy off. Robyn, where are you on this scale today?
I want to get back out and play. I want to be with people. I want to, but you know, you have to measure that with, you know, ensuring that people are safe and taken care of, and you know, it's the same thing we're all thinking is, gosh, I miss my life, I miss my friends, I miss my people. But that's what it is. And you know what, it's going to make it that much sweeter on the other side to get it all back. Because, you know, sometimes when something's taken away from you for a little bit, you realize how amazing it was and how much you loved it and how much you loved the people that you're with. And, you know, so I think we're all going to come back with a renewed sense of purpose and gratitude for our lives. If there's one, you know, silver lining here. which I'm always looking for. But yeah, I'm ready to go. I know probably everyone listening to this is ready to go too.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive right into the kind of like headline of this session, which was Greatness Through Grit, G.R.I.T. So first of all, what does GRIT stand for?
Well, you know me, I love a good acronym. So, so it's funny because after my presentations, people often ask like, how do you get through these crazy adventure races, or how are you a firefighter for 21 years, or like where does that come from? Where does that resilience? Where does that grittiness to get to a finish line come from? And so I started thinking about that and where it comes from. And there's some internal stuff and there's some external stuff. Places that this sort of grit and resilience comes from. So it's actually an acronym for guts, respect, for one another, respect for the mission, and innovation and ingenuity and teamwork. Because in a lot of cases, we're not doing something with each other, we're doing something for each other. And we're constantly thinking as we and getting to a finish line together. So there's a lot of teamwork in it as well, but there's also a lot of what makes you as an individual, what helps you be really resilient and help you be able to get to a really challenging finish line. So that's what this presentation is all about. And I have a lot of new videos in it as well for anyone who's seen my presentation. I found some really cool some fun old school stuff, but some newer stuff too, about teams just showing that incredible resilience, and my team showing that incredible resilience and getting to a finish line. So it's sort of my offering right now of and in the long term, but for how do we continue in our hearts and minds to drive, to just keep driving to challenging finish lines against all odds. And so it's again, it's a lot of fun, like my other ones where it's kind of a roller coaster of kind of concept story video, but yeah.
Are there any leeches in the new video?
Always. Yeah.
Oh, my favorite part of your presentation.
So do you want to actually like go into some of them a little bit more, or
well, so one thing that we know for sure is that like people are really going to have to rely on resilience to get through this setback and to rebuild. So let's just like go through like, where do you think resilience comes from? And are you born with it? Do you build it?
It's actually both. It's sort of the nature and nurture. Like I know a lot of people, like, for example, who are parents out there who just know their kid is just hardcore. Like every time they fell down, they didn't even cry. They just got up, they kept going, and they kept falling down and they kept getting up and they kept going, or when they played sports. And, so there's some of that's in our soul, that ability to be hardcore. But there's also a lot, and in my case, I actually got a lot of my resilience from people that I was surrounded by. And in particular, coaches and teammates. When I was younger, I was a gymnast for many years, and we were training from 8 years old 4 hours a night, 6 days a week, and trying to get straight A's at the same time. And we had an incredible coach named Stormy, who all of us just, whenever he said jump, it was how high, and anything for this guy. We just wanted him to notice us. We wanted him to love us. Like he was our second father figure. And he was not only coaching, gymnastics, but he was also an Ironman triathlete. And he took us on long bike rides, and he took me on my first hike across the Grand Canyon. And it was, just watching him and seeing how amazing and strong and tough he was. I wanted to be just like him. All of us did. And so, that made, that kind of coming from the outside and surrounding yourself with great people who show you what you can be capable of, is a great way to, to gain that resilience from the outside. We also get resilience from kind of that higher sense of purpose and doing something for someone or for something. And so much of the time I finished races, not because I was strong, but because I had so much respect for and from my teammates that I would like literally rather die out there than let them down, than quit. And, so in fact, our first big adventure race, like the first time I raced with the best team in the world, we had to summit a 19,700 foot active volcano in the middle of Ecuador on day 4 of the race after running for 3 days at 14,000 feet. And I was a complete train wreck when we got to the hut at 15,000 feet where we were going to do the final climb to 19,700. And the doctor took one look at our team and one look at the other top team that came in when we did, which of course was the top French team in the world that we were always racing against, the Terminators. And he took one look at us and said, you know what, I got to change the rules right now because everyone on these first 2 teams looks so bad. I can't even imagine what the rest of the race looks like. And so he decided to put an O2 sat on all of us, on all of our fingers, to see what our O2 sat was, to see if we could continue climbing. And the doctor said, if your O2 sat is 70% or less, you can't keep climbing up this mountain, and your team could potentially be out of the race. And my O2 sat, when I put my finger in, was 71%. And, and I mean, I know as a firefighter EMT that if someone's under like 95, they're going to the hospital with lights and sirens. So, 71, like to keep climbing up a mountain, like seemed like a good idea. But the reason that I did it, and the reason I got to 18,000 feet and thought I was coming back down, but at 18,000 feet, it was, we had some tough decisions to make because 2 of my teammates actually had to stop and get a penalty at that point because the doctor told them they couldn't continue. And we needed to get 3 people to the top of the mountain. And one of my teammates literally just looked at me and said, Rob, you can do this. You can do this, Rob. And literally his belief in me, I was way under 71% at that point at 18,000 feet. And because of his belief in me and his trust in me and my desire to do it for them and for the team, I was one of the 3 people on my team that got to 19,700 feet. I don't remember any of it. I just saw it on video, but it's that kind of respect and love, for and from other people and for a great cause, that drives us even harder and for one another, that continues to drive us. And then, I think a lot of our resilience too comes from that innovation, because we always liked on our team to say innovation creates motivation. And whenever you came up with this crazy cool idea, this something that you knew other teams weren't going to, you couldn't even keep up with you if you actually pulled this off. Those were the times we were the most motivated and inspired and resilient. We got to the lead in the World Championships in Borneo in a section where we were supposed to hike along this river. And the river had come up so high that the trail almost wasn't there. So we were bushwhacking, down the side of the river, and it was like class 3 rapids, and we were moving so slowly. And we were, in a big funk. And one of my teammates said, what if we jumped in the river? And all of a sudden it was like, bam, like we were all like fired up. We were awake. We were excited. We were not real bright, but we all jumped in these class 3 rapids and swam for 2 hours down this river. Half of it was in the dark, but swam these rapids because but we were excitedly swimming them, knowing, what, this is going to get, we're either going to be at the front of the race or we're going to be in the hospital, but we are freaking winning this thing. And, it's that kind of stuff that that helps your team, stay in the game, is finding a better way. And then also, again, just doing it for each other. So I always tell people, be the teammate that people want to work with and want to work for. And, and that comes from, that comes from you and surrounding yourself with great people that help you rise, not people that bring you down.
Yeah. And so speaking of teammates, right now, as we're all isolated from each other, how do you really just stay connected to our teammates? And we're living in a webinar world. How do you stay connected?
Yeah, it's the 8 essential elements of human synergy that I talk about are not about kind of being in the same room or the same company or even the same city. Like when our team literally came from every corner of the world. We were never even in the same country, much less training together. We never trained together. And a lot of the reason that we continue to win races is because of our mindset and how we operated with one another. You know, the minute we landed in whatever airport, we just knew who and how we wanted to be and how we wanted to be with and for each other. And so a lot of it revolves around like having that real empathy and awareness of each other. Is an element I never get to talk about that much in my keynotes. I always start with the T, which is total commitment to the finish line. But right now there's a lot of empathy and awareness because everyone's living in their own little reality bubble. And it's, I think part of what's important, especially like when you get onto a webinar, for example, is to not launch right into what has to be done, what do we got to get through today, whatever it is, but to actually like take a half step back and say, what's going on in that person's world? What's that person's reality right now? Because every interaction with another human being, especially right now, is a big clash of realities. And, you know, someone may have just come from teaching their children their lessons for the day and taking the dog for a walk, and there was something out there. And, you know, like everyone's world is so different right now to actually sit back and say, tell me about your life. Tell me about what's going on. Tell me about what you're feeling. So that empathy and awareness is really big, you know, right now. And you actually can, you know, think as we from a distance in terms of, how can I genuinely and deeply like help you right now? Maybe with my background and skills and strengths or experience. How can I be of service to you? You know, from your living room, you know, what can I do with my background and experience that can help you right now? In terms of maybe moving your life forward or doing something that you need to get done. And everyone leaving their ego at the start line, especially right now, is the seventh of the 8 essential elements of human synergy, which is, you know, it's the heaviest thing in your pack, and you can't bring it to work. You can't bring it to the webinar with you. Like right now, it's especially not about who's better than who or who's going to get that promotion or who's stepping on somebody's back. This has to be a moment right now where you're putting your teammates on your shoulders and not stepping on their backs, and being very cognizant of how can I show somebody through a video, how can I show somebody how amazing they are right now? Like maybe draw something out of them that, you know, from their life, that they can remember a great time in their life or when they were amazing or strong, or, you know, how can I elevate and inspire somebody from the other side of a video right now? And a lot of that revolves around reminding them how awesome they are. And then being a kinetic kind of leader too. And when I talk about kinetic leadership, which is the 8th essential element of human synergy and the teamwork acronym, it's ascertaining what kind of leader you need to be right now. Because there are different times for different kinds of leadership, right? I mean, some days you're out in front leading the way, you're setting the pace. Some days you're a coach. Some days you're a friend. Some days, you know, your teammates might need a kick in the pants. You know, like it's figuring out like, who do I need to be right now? You know, to elevate and inspire, you know, the people in my webinar world. So you can, regardless of whether you're like, you know, you can figuratively tow each other, figuratively carry each other. When you can't actually be together, you know, doing that in the office. And when you come with that intent, you know, to be somebody's teammate, that changes how you interact with people. And so I think that's one of the better things we can do right now is just be each other's teammate and be that team builder that, you know, where everyone leaves a webinar happier for you having been there, you know, happier about you, happier about themselves for you having been there.
Yeah, yeah. So we actually got a really good question that just came in. It's from Lisa, and she says, so she's heard you speak before, and one of her favorite stories is when the team had to recruit the local man who had no adventure racing experience. So this is relevant today because we're all kind of scrambling and trying to learn new things and teach each other things that we're unfamiliar with. So what is your advice on how to navigate, you know, this both as a leader and someone who's trying to learn and adjust to everything going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, I swear, I think about, the guy's name was Dawat Mutang, and he's a 35-year-old farmer from the middle of the Borneo rainforest. And all the time, literally every day, at least once a day, I think about that guy. And I think about what he did and the courage that he had to have, and how easily he did just jump into this game. And for the people who haven't seen my presentation, I'll give you the quick overview. It's a freaking amazing story. We were in the middle of the Borneo rainforest, and this was my first big adventure race ever. And I was on an all-female team. And at the start line, which took us 3 days to get to, the top French team who had taken second place in this big race called the Raid Gauloise, the World Championships at the time. They had taken second place at the Raid the year before, and they were on a mission coming back to win. And on their way running to the start line on race day, like all of us are moving towards the start line and gathering on race day. And one of the teammates on the top team in the world broke his ankle walking to the start line. And so, suddenly these guys had this crazy decision to make. Like, do we start disqualified without the right number of people? Do we go home? Or do we try to walk around the rainforest near the start line and see if we can find a guy, to come race with us? And I'm watching this whole saga unfold. We were all in complete disbelief. There were just a bunch of farming huts around the start line, and they start knocking on these huts. And one door, opens up, and they're looking at this guy going, oh my God, this is the guy that will fit the Lycra outfit that we now have available. And so they're dressing him up, and they're, telling him to jump into the game. And, bless this guy's heart. He had no idea what he was getting into. But the thing that inspires me, and he had never done any of these sports. He'd never been on a bike. He'd never seen climbing gear. He'd never been on a rope. He'd never been in a kayak. I mean, never. He'd never seen a map, never used a compass. This guy just grew up in this little village and walked from village to village. But the coolest thing about him, the first thing that you see him say in the video that I share is he says, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm confident I can work it with a team. And he puts his hand across his chest like this. I know we can do this together. And so, part of the lesson there, in that moment is you don't have to have all the answers, you don't have to see the whole staircase to just take the first step, right? You just know that you're surrounded by amazing people. He trusted in his team. He knew that they were going to teach him, whatever he needed to do, to get to the finish line. And he trusted them. He knew he didn't have to have all the answers. And so yada, 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 the whole video goes through this guy, literally from Seinfeld fans, yada, yada, yada. He literally learned to kayak, learned to ride a bicycle in the middle of this race. Flew off the bike a couple of times, but he took such ownership of it. He just said, they showed me how to use the brakes. It was really my fault, which always cracks me up. But at the end of the race, out of 63 teams, they actually took second place out of 63 teams. And I know because my team was 63rd. But so they took second place. And I mean, it was unfreaking believable because, it just reminds you that, sometimes what makes you valuable, especially right now, isn't necessarily what sometimes what makes you valuable is what you're willing to learn along the way. And there's a lot we're all learning right now, about how to create a new way forward in our businesses, in our lives. A lot of us have to flow around the boulder that is now in the stream of our lives and find different ways forward. And, so I have to, I think about okay, what did I learn today? What can I learn today? It's okay to be a beginner again, in a lot of cases. And also it inspires me because, it reminds me that, right now the universe has just come and knocked on all of our huts. It's hey, here I am, and if you have the courage, to open the door, and get in the game, like we all are right now, we're all in the game. We don't know about the adventure race we're on right now, but we got to open the door and get in the game. And when we surround ourselves with a great team, like G.R.I.T did, you have a hell of a lot better chance of getting to the finish line. And I think on the other side of this, we're also going to realize what G.R.I.T realized, which is, that, this is my favorite Christopher Robin quote, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. And, he learned that in that race. And that's something we're all, also learning right this moment. So, I mean, I tap into G.R.I.T all the time, especially when I think, oh, I can't possibly, I'm ready. I don't want to relearn this, or I don't want to start over, or, there's always this little G.R.I.T on my shoulder, I did it, and I'm damn it, G.R.I.T. But, it's inspiring.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we're going to do another quick poll here. And this one is about self-care and just kind of what you're doing to take care of yourself right now. And I think you should be able to select multiple answers here. because I'm definitely doing about all of the above, although maybe some more than others, maybe a lot of naps and Netflix. um, what are you doing to take care of yourself, Robyn?
Ooh, ooh. Well, I am one of those very lucky people that has an essential job with an essential gym in it. And so I'm like every day when I go to work at the fire station, we actually do have a gym, and I feel a little bit guilty about that right now. But on my days off, I've been running in the horse trails, and I have to be outside. Like I can't even exist unless there's sun on my body at some point during the day. Like being inside is my worst nightmare. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, people agree with you because
hey,
everyone's getting fresh air.
need
Just
fresh air.
yeah, for sure. I definitely need that too. I went on a walk right before this. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go right before this, just like get my vitamin D in. A
Yeah.
couple of people are saying some things in the chat, like some people are painting, cooking, taking more walks with the dog. That's always great. Journaling, gardening, uh, you know, hanging out with pets for sure. So that's a lot of things. Oh, someone's learning Spanish. Good for you.
Muy bien.
um, yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's get back to some questions. Okay, so since the world has stopped spinning for a lot of people, what words of inspiration or wisdom do you have for those who are feeling a little lost right now and wondering what the other side will look for them? And I'm actually going to follow that up with a question that just came in. If you could tell the story about when you were crying and your team and what your teammate said to you while you were crying.
Yeah, that's actually totally applicable right now too. So, some of the things that I'm trying to, use with myself right now too is, I have to do a lot of, motivational talking to myself. And, cause it's tough to have your whole, your world just stop, you have missions, you have dream goals, and it's sort of like, I feel like we're all in this crazy adventure race, known as our lives. And suddenly this big hook pulled us all off the course, and they're like, you have to sit here and you can't get back on the race course. And so some of the things that I've been, kind of telling myself right now is something that I realized in starting Project Athena, which we can talk about in a little bit, but if you want. But, one of the things that was very definitive about Project Athena and what we want to survive through adventures that we take them on is that, if you're never defined by your setback, you're going to be defined by your comeback. So, setback came out of the universe handed us, right? So we can't define ourselves by what happened back. This is something that sort of, happened to us, to all of us. But we can find ourselves is in what we do with it, is in our comeback. So I like to think about, what does this look like? How do I create my comeback? How am I going to come back even stronger, in my business than I was before, or in my mission to help survivors live an adventurous dream, or in my next mission to start an animal sanctuary. So every day I have my goals and missions, which are 3 or 4, and every day before I go to bed at night, I take at least done one little thing towards each of those big goals that I have, those overarching goals. And so I have to say, I have to go to bed proud of myself, or I don't go to bed. So I have to do at least to make myself proud of myself in all of those categories, whether it's my physical fitness, my health, Project Athena, the animal sanctuary, my company as a firefighter, these sort of parallel tracks that I'm walking. I do one thing to ensure that my comeback is going to be as strong as possible when I get back on all those race courses. So I'd like, this is how I'm going to define myself. This is something I do have control over. The other thing I kind of keep telling myself is everything that I need to succeed is within me right now. And it's kind of that idea that, for example, I always like to use, race or, marathon analogies. Let's say, you're 13.1 miles into your life marathon course, and you're way ahead of the pack. You're way out front. You're winning this race. Your company's succeeding. You're succeeding in your life. You're living all your dreams. You're doing all this great stuff. And suddenly the universe comes, I'm going to put you all back at the start line, which is what this feels like to a lot of us right now. I'd like, everyone's going to be back at the start line. Guess who's still going to be at the front of the race in 13.1 miles from you? Because you got there with your background and skills and training and strength and experience and everything that you needed to succeed the first time still inside of you. And you're going to be able to again and again and again and again in aspect of your life. You don't need anything outside. Everything that you need is within you right now, to get back to where you were and be even. And then sort of the last thing I'm doing, well, aside from like remodeling my house and making 3 storage units into one, and it's back up, I'm reading my audiobook, like all this that I've had on the back burner forever is I actually created like a list of 30 things in 30 minutes or less. And in those little spaces between, like you can either, binge watch another episode of Netflix, or you could, which I did last week, clean out the whole underside of the nasty stuff under your sink in your bathroom. But like, it's not a forever thing. It's things you can do in 30 minutes, like cleaning your back door windows, or save those photos that you've been wanting to save onto a hard drive, or like whatever all those little tiny things are. Because it's not overwhelming if you just say, you know what, I'm going to take 30 minutes and I'm going to super laser focus on something that I'm going to be able to make myself feel productive today and move the ball forward. And, so that's kind of what I'm sharing with myself and what I'm doing, to kind of ensure that I come out stronger on the other end.
But you didn't tell the crying story yet.
All right, here I go. All right. So, all right. It's funny because I just read this part of my book, which I haven't read. It really just brings back such vivid memories. Like, so we were at the front of the Eco Challenge at the World Championships, and we thought we had the lead. And realize as we're approaching this caving section, we think we have about a 3-hour lead, and suddenly we're hearing all these locals like cheering, and we think they're for us. And what don't realize at the moment is that they're cheering for the Terminators, the top French team, who we had a 3-hour lead on at the last checkpoint, and literally they're running into the cave behind us. And we don't realize it until we've hooked up these 4 ropes. We have to ascend to the top of this cave, and we've hooked up to our ropes. We're sending up the ropes, and all of a sudden, like shaking around. And I don't know what the heck is going on. I look down, and the captain of the French is at the bottom of my, and he starts shaking it. He's yelling up at me. He's like, "Get off the rope, Robyn. We come to win." And it was hard, like, to go from winning this thing, this was our big victory lap, to suddenly this team was right on our heels. And this section was a hell of a lot longer than it looked on the map. Like on the map, it looked like this tiny little hike. And when we got up there, we realized what we thought was going to be like a 30-40 minute hike, and then rappel down this cliff face, jump in our boats, paddle 40 miles to finish, and we're going to win the Eco Challenge. But we pop out the top of this, and we realized this section was going to be another 6 to 8 hours with no water, totally dehydrated. Our feet were bleeding, like we were covered with leeches. And as this just got worse and worse and worse, like with the best team in the world right on our heels, and I started to like the end of my rope, and I just wanted to win so badly, and I was so dehydrated and just like so like, oh, we just want this so bad. And when I like get all the way to the end of my rope like that, I cry, and I can't even help it. It just happens. And so I'm crying at the front of the World Championships. And, the rest of my team is running, this ridge line, and I'm looking over my shoulder, and the top French team is running down the hill behind us, and I'm crying, and I'm trying to run, but I can't see because I'm crying. And so finally I have to stop, and I'm just standing there dead still. And finally, like, my buddy Mike realized I wasn't down there racing with the rest of the team, and he starts running back up. And I was bracing for impact because, you know, it was really one of those moments that your teammate could have said the right thing or just the wrong thing. So as Mikey approached, very calmly, I actually have to say, for what was going on, because I know it over my shoulder, you know, at the top team, at the team that was chasing us down. And as he approached, he said, "Okay, Rob, I got a wife and a daughter, and I know that this happens." He said, and then, you know, which will like disarm me right away. And he said, "But there's a big difference between people that are going to win this race and people that are going to lose this. And the difference is that the people that are going to win this race are crying." And then he grabbed my hand and said, "And they're walking." And like, honestly, in that moment, I like a light bulb went on, like inspired. Like I could have been mad, but like at the moment I was like, you know what? He's right. Like, why can't I just cry while I walk? You know, like I can do both. And I was actually inspired because I realized in that moment, like one or the other, like I could cry and walk, you know, if I had a great teammate, especially like right there with me, you know, holding my hand, which he did for the longest time. And it was really, really cool because they were still right on our heels for the longest time. But I was so fired up after that because in my brain, I'd already like kind of thought they were going to catch us and pass us. And when I realized that I could still be frustrated and freaked out and dehydrated and sad and still win, I was on fire. And actually, one of the videos I'm editing right now shows a shot of us not too long after that. There was a huge chasm to cross on just a rope, you know, a huge Tyrolean traverse. And I was the first one to get there. And I literally just clipped in and jumped off the cliff. And there was guys in the helicopter, that are watching this, like with the TV on us. And you can hear them because they actually had audio inside the helicopter. And they were like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Holy crap, she just jumped off that thing." But I was like so fired up after that. Like, I don't have to quit, you know, I can cry and freaking win this thing. And, you know, and we did.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, I cry a lot these days, but yeah, then we just get up and keep going.
It doesn't matter. You can do both. I mean, it's not a statement about you, you know, whatever you need to do to keep moving forward. Sometimes I would cry on purpose because it helped me breathe. You know, it wasn't developed anything. You know, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel frustrated. But when I cried, it allowed me to breathe easier. So my guys realized after a while that, you know, like she doesn't need us. She's good. She's just doing what she has to do in this moment to win this race. And, you know, crying doesn't mean you're losing a race. It just means you're doing what it takes to succeed, what it takes to win. And, you know, my teammates always knew that about me. They were worried at first, right? For a couple of years, they were just like, "She's got this."
You're good? You're good? Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Okay, so let's do another quick poll here. And so this one, I've gotten a lot of different versions of this question. For example, like, what is the first thing you're going to do when we're out of all of this? And I think most of us have the same answer, which is obviously, you know, buy toilet paper, or, you know, hug your loved ones, take your pick. But what is one mass gathering other than, you know, live speaking events? Because I guess all of us here really are wanting those to come back more than anything. But what else are you just like, I cannot wait to go back to that and go back and do that? For me, I'm really excited to go back to the theater. Broadway is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I really miss it. Also, baseball games. I've never had such a craving for a Dodger dog and a $15 beer. And I have to say, I was really looking forward to seeing how fans were going to react to the Astros this season. And if their reactions at spring training were any indication of what was to come. And for the like 5 people who know what I'm talking about, you can email me later. Okay, so let's end this and see the results here. And Robyn, what are you looking forward to?
I just want to, I know you said other than meetings, but that's all I want to go make new friends at at events, and meet cool people and like have them so fired up when they leave that they just can't wait to conquer the big thing. Like that's what I love the most. I actually don't like being in like going to concerts or being in big groups like that. You know, I just love interacting with with the people I'm with when
Yeah,
I go
for
to.
sure. Some of the people are saying, that like going and singing with their chorus, Project Athena adventures. I know we have a few Project Athena people in here. Oh, movies. That was the one thing I didn't put on here, but going to the movie theaters, or yeah, family events, weddings, graduations, parties, normal, normal day-to-day things, like just going outside. But I mean, as we're looking at the poll results here, bars and restaurants, yeah, I'm like, I miss going out and having someone else cook for me. Yeah, and like I said, I'm so sick of doing dishes.
Yeah.
um okay, so let's go back to questions, because you talked about having a higher sense of purpose, and this is maybe a really good segue into that. So what is your higher sense of purpose?
Well, I love getting people fired up about the future and their goals, dreams, which, what I do from stage and what I do again, that's like such a higher sense of to me. It's not about me at all. It's about like watching bulbs go on in people's brains, like about what they're capable of and how strong they are and how amazing they are. And when people like come up and tell me they just like want to run through a wall, or like I'm just oh my gosh, it makes my life. But there's a couple other like higher sense of purpose that kind of drive me every day. And one is Project Athena. And Project Athena kind of came about because I started having my hips replaced when I was 40, and I've actually had 6 hip replacements at this point, which is even get me started. And after my first hip replacement, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this? Like, I may not be able to adventure race at a high level anymore, but what can I do with this background and strengths and experience, in adventure, and what I know adventure does to people, and how can I maybe give back and share adventure with people who really need it. And the idea for the Project Athena mission came to me. And what we do is we kind of help survivors live an adventurous dream and reach a crazy, audacious goal as part of their recovery. So we create a big comeback party for survivors of medical or traumatic setbacks. And you've been a part of it, which is pretty cool. Like Marianne did our 120-mile kayak and bike ride from Key Largo to Key West. Ish. It's definitely an ish.
Yeah, I did that last November, and I will say that it is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, but also probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. And it was just I mean, I went as a god goddess, not someone who was one of the survivors, but like I learned so much about myself and what I was capable of. And I mean, on our adventure, we had 3 blind people, and I'm sitting there like, okay, like if they can fall out of a kayak or fall off of their bike or make it up this hill or whatever it was, like I can stop being a baby. I can maybe cry a little bit, but keep going as I'm crying. It was just, it was so amazing. We met, the people were incredible. The experience was incredible. I was able to do it with some of my BigSpeak team members, which was absolutely just, I mean, it bonded us in a way that, we never would have had before. And I mean, I'm, as hard and painful and insane as it was, I think you brainwashed me because I signed up to do it again this year.
It is. It's sort of very cult-like in that you don't want to leave and you need to come back, and it's just an experience you don't much in the real world. Where you're that close and intertwined with human beings who are on this amazing high, and they're inspiring each other, and they're like, because we stay together the whole time on these adventures, so our strength is totally active. We think the entire time. Like, if you have extra strength, if you have extra energy, if you have extra food, you're giving it to somebody else. And if you need help, you're accepting that help from somebody else. And so like we all finish line together, and it's hard to get that in the world. And so that's why, people keep coming back. And also, like, for a lot of people, it's great leadership training, because then they want to come and create that, in work life. It's like, why are our egos all in a bunch right now? Like, why are we competing against each other? Why aren't we using our strength to be collective here and elevate each other? And, why isn't, like, rising tide raises all ships mode, like, like we are in adventures. So it's sort of, it's like a win-win all the way around, because you get 4 months of training before. So you're amazingly strong and you're probably in the best shape of your life when you come there. But then you get the team building and leadership stuff, which is also amazing. And you get to help survivors live an adventurous dream, not only with your fundraising, but with your awesomeness and your presence. And you're inspiring them, they're inspiring you. And, and you also leave with a hell of a lot of gratitude for your health and, for the things that haven't gone wrong for you, like it has in a lot of cases with our survivors. And you're also just so proud of them, that they're able to turn a setback and do, such an amazing comeback. And that Keys trip was insane from that perspective of the 3 blind people, and, what they were able to accomplish with freaking smiles on their faces, like they're scared at all. And I guess that's just the trust they had in us, but,
maybe a little crazy.
I mean, they weren't just like living a normal life. They were living a extreme, amazing, like self-actualization life that not people in their position get to do. And, you can feel that like emanating from them the entire time, just that joy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, from like the tandem bicycles, like we're just like, we're in this crazy, I mean, from torrential downpours where I swear we're up to like our knees going through puddles on our bikes, to like the crazy headwinds and the waves in the kayaks. And, like I said, like the flipping over of the kayaks where, with one of the blind people where he was just like, I was hot, it's fine. I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm sitting there like, don't tip over, don't tip over, don't tip over. And, but I saw him tip over, and then like everyone just rallying together and like, all right, get him back in the boat in the middle of all these waves and all this wind, just like, this is what we got to do. And it was, I mean, I get chills thinking about it. It was just such an incredible experience.
Yeah, I mean, they're just epic, doesn't even begin to, to describe it. And we like to keep the groups like to 30 or 40 people or less, kind of, so that those bonds can really happen. And, so this year we're adding we're adding a Zion trek. We're doing 40 miles across Zion, as well as the Grand Canyon trek. Assuming
I saw that it was
open.
I know. I did see the Zion trek, and I thought about like, oh, I could do that. And then it was like waitlist immediately, because everyone's like, oh, I want to do Zion.
Yeah. For sure. Well, we postponed Harbor to October, so you can still come to that one. I know you're excited.
I could, right? Yes.
Anybody can, actually. Yeah. But can you talk to a higher sense of purpose? Like, my day is like, okay, how can I raise money for Project Athena? How can I get these survivors more PR? How can I create even other adventures? So, it inspires me to be able to do things like this for our survivors, and, people looking to get their juju back. And in my future life, my sense of purpose is ultimately going to be, I want to have an actuary in Sedona. And that's like my super special place, having grown up in Arizona. And I wanted to be surrounded by animals who just didn't have a home, or were left in a shelter too long, or just any animal that needs us. I wanted to have for them to have a forever home the rest of their life. And I don't care if it's sloths or elephants or dogs or cats or bunnies or goats or like whatever it is. Like we just want to be able to, give them an amazing life that they weren't able to have.
Mm-hmm. Just quick question, just back to Project Athena really quick. So you guys did postpone one of your adventures, and is that kind of like you're just kind of waiting and seeing what's going to happen as far as like what you're going to do with the rest of them?
I'm hoping that the rest are going to be okay at this point, but it really depends on if, the national parks are open. Two of the 4 of them depend on whether the park is open or not. Mm-hmm. So,
and is that like Grand Canyon and Zion at this point?
Yeah. But Keys, I'm sure, is open for business. I hope.
Yeah, well, it's November, so I mean, we got some time. And and if it's not, we'll have some really good, just some really good training up into it, and then we'll figure it
Yeah,
out from there.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just really believe like getting outside right now, or getting outside, or even walking 6 feet from a friend or whatever, like whatever it, whatever it is. But I think getting outside is really the key to, a lot of people's mental health and physical health.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we have a few more minutes left, and I'm gonna run this last poll, which is really just it's to choose your own adventure. So we have about 7 minutes left. So what do you guys want to hear about? Um, whether it's more crazy adventure racing stories, more about human synergy, more Robinisms, more about Project Athena. Uh, yes, there are dogs. There's a dog that is currently headbutting me right now, trying to get attention. Yeah. Okay. Just a couple more seconds here. So it's looking like, and I'm gonna just share this. People really want to hear more about human synergy. So if we can talk a little bit more about your 8 elements in these last couple of minutes.
Okay. So the 8 essential elements of human synergy is something that kind of happened. It was something that we were sort of doing along in racing, but it didn't happen as a keynote or as a presentation, out of my own brain, or saying, hey, I want to be here, because like really when I started doing this, like I would rather stick a pin in my eye than be a speaker. But this is like back in the day, like 20 years ago. The first people that had the idea to look at adventure racing and see what could be applied to successful businesses and their teamwork was Fast Company. So we won the world championships. Fast Company magazine approached us and they said, hey, we want to look at your teamwork and the teamwork of some other consistently high performing extreme teams, and see what we can learn in a fast moving companies that are, leaders that are reading our magazines. And so they interviewed all of our team members, and they also interviewed a team like from Industrial Light and Magic and NASA, and all these consistently high performing teams that are in these high pressure situations. What they discovered in the article was that we all basically had the same set and attitude and way of dealing with her as teammates. We were somebody winning an adventure race, or whatever it may be. So they asked me to speak at their reader conference, and I sat to figure out like what was it that made our team, consistently high performing in these crazy environments. And it wasn't speed, it wasn't our skill, experience, or backgrounds, or really like above, just kind of medium athletes. But made us special was our teamwork and our, like, what I call human synergy, where we're literally better together than any individual could ever be alone. And so I sat down to write down what that was. And once I started writing down like what it was about our team that I thought made us special, and I started like rearranging it a little bit, I was like, oh, like the angels were singing. It was like an acronym for teamwork. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I thought I just like wrote Stairway to Heaven or something. Like it just came from somewhere else. And so the T, and you know that you sort of have a world-class team when you have all of these 8 things, and it's sort of almost like chiropractic in a way, in that like if your team is struggling, you can almost look at these 8 elements like they're your spine, and go, okay, where are we out of alignment here? Like what do we need to fix? And if you line all these things up completely, and you have all these things as part of your team's going to be rocking. It's an acronym for teamwork, and the T is total commitment, to the line, not to the start. And do you have the 4 P's in place? Do you have an incredible plan that's always communicated to the rest of the team? Is they heading to the same place on the map, totally on board with the same value sharing tactics? You got to have a why, elevated sense of purpose. Your perseverance. We talk about, and your resilience is P. How do you create that perseverance? A lot of it is by showing your team that you have a hell of a lot of perseverance and taking them with you. And then preparation, because the luckiest people on earth are always the most well prepared, because luck happens, when opportunity, preparation. So your commitment really is shown to your team and demonstrated by those 4 P's: planning, perseverance, and preparation. The E is empathy and awareness, of teammates, which we talked a little bit about earlier, like that human connection. Like, do people know that you genuinely and deeply care about them, or do they feel like you're using them to get to your own goal? Like, so every day you have to let, be the person that people want to work with and work for, and let people know that you genuinely see them and you genuinely care about them. The A is adversity. How do you handle those tough times? Because change is really the only thing that's going to stay the same. It's about how we respond to change that dictates our success. So, are you helping your team see challenges, versus roadblocks? And are you helping them like consistently be, like, are you ruled by like the hope of success or the fear of failure? Because whichever of those you focus on leads you to two totally different finish lines. Like, are you focused, so I just hold position and do what it takes to not have anybody pass me? Or do I get out front, build my lead, shatter the norm, do some things that have never been done? In other words, doing what it takes to win, or position and not losing, two totally different, ways of thinking. And then also, turning setbacks into comebacks, which we talked about with Project Athena, and not letting the pursuit of perfect, progress, and make that forward progress all the time. It doesn't have to be perfect, but forward progress, you learn. Like sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So when you continue making forward progress every day, I would always choose progress over perfect. Of adversity management. And then mutual respect is M, and he's act a great teammate, act a great leader, because it's more important than one, because feelings are a little overrated. It's if you can to act like a great partner to your husband, your wife, your kids, the feelings always come back. So, make sure you are that person that is constantly showing that respect and being the leader and teammate you with. That collective.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna cut you off because we are at 11 o'clock and I do want to be respectful of people's time. However, yep. I know that we have this in an ebook that we can share with all the attendees when we share the recording of this. So if you want, you need the rest of the acronym, we'll send that out to you. So I'm sorry, everyone, we do have to stop. That is going to do it for today. But if you have any further questions for Robyn, me, or anyone on the BigSpeak team, please reach out. My email is on all of our webinar materials. We record every session and it will be automatically shared with all of you, as well as those who are registered and were unable to attend. Robyn, we love you. So thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining us today. And everyone out in the world, everyone out there, thank you for being here. I know your inboxes are inundated with webinar invites every day, and we appreciate you choosing to spend this hour with us. Next week on the BigSpeak webinar, we'll be talking to Jia Zhang. Jia is a resilience expert who wrote the best-selling book, Rejection Proof: How I Beat Fear and Became Invincible Through 100 Days of Rejection. That is scheduled for the same time slot, Wednesday, April 29th at 10 a.m. Pacific, and the initial registration link will be sent out tomorrow along with the recording of this session. And I hope to see you all then. Thank you, Robyn. Everyone, take care of yourselves. This week, I'm just counting to 20 while washing my hands. No songs, because I'm just mixing it up. So bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.